On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in New York City visiting the home of painter Scott Csoke. Scott is a lover of antiques and art, which has helped them to create a beautiful storied space. Scott has painted almost every wall of the apartment, which features an abundance of Staffordshire dogs, stunning patterns, and bright pink accents. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Scott. Welcome to my apartment in Brooklyn. Let me show you around. Hi, my name is Scott Csoke. I live in East Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I'm a painter. I live right off the L train. It's pretty quiet. It has like a lot of cute coffee shops. It's right near like proper Williamsburg, so you're not like in the midst of all of that, but you know, you can get there pretty quickly. You can get to Manhattan. This is Gizmo. He is a cat that I rescued a couple of years ago. He'll be 15 this year. Throughout the apartment, there's a lot of pink, which I love. There's a lot of green also. There's a lot of antiques. There's a lot of things that I've just kind of collected over time. There are some, you know, kind of like special things from John Darien. There's a lot of ceramics, a lot of plates. I don't really know why I love plates so much, but they're kind of just great to hang on the wall and make an interesting, you know, pattern, or like, I don't know, just kind of nice to have around. I just seem to always find something either in the shop or when I go home to Virginia. I always go to all of the like antique stores, so I feel like I'm always buying stuff there, bringing it back here, and then, you know, playing with it in here. So it's a lot of antiques, it's a lot of patterns, it's you know, kind of just things that I really enjoy and things that make me happy. Welcome to my kitchen. This is the first place that you see when you walk into my apartment. There's a lot going on. I still feel like the kitchen's a little bit of a work in progress, but I'm still like really happy with it right now. This, I feel like it has been a more collaborative space between me and my roommate, because she is the one who does most of the cooking. I'm definitely not a cook or a chef at all. She had this like really great print, which I love, and I wanted to do, you know, my like Christian Berard inspired, you know, border around it, just to kind of like frame it a little bit, because as you can see, like the walls were all just kind of this like cream color, you know, which is pretty normal for New York. They're all like a very neutral color, especially with any like rented space. They're all going to be kind of neutral, but you know, I wanted to make it more personal and more fun. And you know, like what's more fun than like painting on your walls? And up top here, I had kind of all of this like white colored stuff, and I kind of put it all up there just to kind of make this space seem like a little more purposeful, just because it was kind of empty and, you know, didn't really have a purpose really. So kind of have all of that up there. There's some milk glass, there's some Staffordshire dogs, there's this really amazing like weird ceramic swan that I had to have for some reason, and some terrines. This terrine on the end was like Catherine's from like her family, and that's also gonna kind of be something like in the apartment as well. There's, you know, stuff from like family members, but also stuff that like I've collected over time. On the fridge here, it's kind of like an ongoing collage of things. It's a lot of pictures, it's a lot of drawings from Catherine's nieces and nephews, which is so cute. A lot of magnets, and we kind of have started like collecting magnets, not even like on purpose, but I feel like whenever we go somewhere, we usually come back with one, which I think has been really cute. So like, you know, a little artichoke, or Catherine went on like a bike ride with her mom and her aunt, and she brought back like this Providence like nude bike race magnet, which I love. There's like a couple of John Darien magnets here that I love. Like, who doesn't want like a little baby squirrel magnet on their fridge? Some eggs. So it's just kind of like that. Some pictures of, you know, New Year's, like a wedding we went to. You know, just kind of like little fun tidbits of our life, and just a fun expression of like who we are and things like that. So on this side of the kitchen, we actually just got this like pegboard from John Darien. It's from like the 19th century. It's just like a painted pegboard to hang, you know, kind of whatever you want. Coats, pots, pans, you know, utensils, whatever you want. But it kind of just made the space, I think, feel a little more sophisticated in a way, and like a little more finished and complete. And Catherine's like hung these really beautiful like copper pots on here, which I feel like it's just such a nice color, and it's a color that, you know, I think everyone kind of associates with a kitchen. Some of these plates, these two matching ones here, I think they're antique actually, but I got them from the Tory Burch like flagship store in Soho in New York. She has like a really good like selection of found objects, and it's a lot of ceramics, or, you know, just different little like classic antique items. And I bought these on my birthday one year, and I just really love them. And then these two plates are also from John Darien, but they were ones that broke at work, and I will glue them back together and hang them in the apartment. There's like a lot of them. I bought this big kind of like chest sideboard, I don't even know, cabinet in Virginia at one of my favorite antique stores in Richmond. It's called Shepherd Street Antiques. And it was just kind of perfect, because I was like, oh, I love that it has, you know, kind of this cross pattern, and that you could see into it. I love being able to like display things and show like kind of what I'm collecting and stuff like that. So I knew this was like a piece that I would have to get. And I feel like it's going to continue to like move with me in whatever, you know, apartments I have in the future. And so right now, what's in it is like a lot of Catherine's cookbooks, like a lot of my like lettuceware, a lot of glasses and stuff that just don't fit in our cupboards, because we pretty much only have like 4 cupboards that we can use for like glasses and plates and things like that. So like I said before, you know, you kind of have to like create your own space in your apartment, especially in New York, because you have such limited space. But that's kind of the fun part of it, I think. And especially if you can do it with like antique or vintage items, I feel like it just automatically gives the space a little more character. And then on top, I have like all of these like dogs and kind of like funny stuffed animals. Like I have some like a vintage Stife, and I have like a newer Stife, and I have this like funny squirrel, and this is Catherine's like chicken kitchen timer, and some more like Staffordshire dogs. Those are like all over the place in my apartment. You see them in like a lot of different types of homes, you know, I feel like it's a more like traditional decorating idea to have these like little dogs everywhere, but I don't know, I just really love them. I think they're so funny and like kind of freaky at the same time. This painting here that I also got from an antique store in Virginia, and I really don't know a lot about the painting. I've tried to research it. I like literally can't find much about it. I just love that it's like, one, there's a dog in it, but also I loved the scale of it, and I loved, having it somewhere where it could like take up a lot of space. So my journey as an artist started when I was in high school. I started just kind of drawing a lot, and I just was really, really in love with it. I loved drawing. I loved, looking through magazines, trying to find things to draw. It was a lot of portraits and, like portraits of family members. I would draw, from life a lot. I always had like a sketchbook with me, and, I would draw at school, at home, if we like went out to eat, I was like drawing people that were, sitting around, and it was just such a good challenge for me because, you have to move really quickly and, just draw what you see. And, from there I kind of moved more into painting. And I had like a really great teacher in high school that, just told me, if you see a color, just put it there, even if it doesn't really make sense. And so that's kind of how I've shaped my whole painting life, is just, being bold about choices, about like brush work. It's all just paint, so you can paint over it. So there's really no way to really mess up. You just kind of have to do it. And that's what I like about it, is just, I feel like it's the one space where I feel the most confident and the most free to do whatever I need to do. And I feel like, I've been doing it long enough now to where I feel even more confident doing it. But, I moved from portraiture more into some abstract painting. From there, I moved kind of into like interiors, and I was still painting like some portraits on the side, but I started like painting like scenes of rooms. Sometimes they were like famous rooms, or, might have just been like my room, or like a random kind of like room that like Bunny Williams decorated or something like that. So from there, I kind of learned a lot about interior decorating and design. And so I feel like kind of like my painting informs a lot of my decor style, how I choose to decorate things. So the way that I kind of tend to decorate, I think I did it a little bit backwards in a way. I had already had like a lot of stuff on the walls, and but I just felt like I wanted one more layer of something, which is why I decided to do all these like details on the wall with the painting, because I felt like it just kind of tidied everything up a little bit. Like there was so much going on, but it felt like it was a way to kind of organize everything, but also to kind of give it this new look and kind of transform the apartment in a really kind of simple way. And I think when I do decorate, I don't really think about it too much. I kind of just, sometimes, I see something and I'm like, oh, this would be perfect in like, blah, blah, blah space. But a lot of the time I just want to get the item immediately and then find a spot for it later, which is like half the fun, is like finding a space, making it work, even if, you really can't fit it anywhere. So for me, I kind of had all these like little vignettes set up already, and then that kind of just like informed how I was going to paint around it. So I kind of did it backwards, I think, but I think it all kind of worked out really nicely. And, even though it seems very like finite in the way that I have everything, I think it's still loose enough to where I can like move things around however I want, and change things. And maybe like I want to hang this up over here one day, or it can be interchangeable. And I think a lot of people, or like my friends, are always like, oh, but now you have to like keep everything exactly how it is. But I don't really think that is true. Like I can kind of do whatever I want, and that's like the fun part about decorating, is moving things around, changing it, and always kind of making something new again. These here are actually, they're both Catherine's. There's a place in California, a restaurant, a really famous restaurant called Chez Panisse, and Catherine found this like really great like vintage piece online, and she loves garlic, she loves vegetables, so it was kind of like a perfect thing for her to find, and we put it over this little basket that we usually keep all of like the garlic, tomatoes, and like onions and things like that. So it was really kind of like a perfect like marriage of those two things. And this print here is by Lou Fratino, who's like a very famous painter. He's also based in New York, but has had like immense success. And Catherine chose this one because it is like a kitchen table. It's all about food, and I really love it. I love the like colors, the composition, and I think it really just fits in nicely with our kitchen. So on this wall, this piece by Elizabeth Graeber is kind of like the first piece of art that I ever bought. It's a painting of the book Bambi, and I just immediately was obsessed with it and kind of had to have it. It's just so sweet and cute, and it was, you know, the image that was used to like advertise the show, and I had to like pay for it in installments, but I was like, I just have to have this. It's just so sweet. So it's been really fun to kind of like bring this to like each apartment with me, and just kind of live with it and continue to live with it. And I don't know, I love the colors. I love anything with cursive. I love cursive. I feel like I'm the only person who still writes in cursive. But yeah, it's just such a sweet piece, and I just love seeing it every day. And everything else is kind of like a mishmash. Like this is just like kind of a funny like painting I did. I didn't really make it on purpose. There were some people coming to my apartment to like interview me for like a blog that they were doing, and they wanted like to take some pictures of me painting. So I just kind of like did this on the spot, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this. So I hung it up. And I just love how bright the pink is. It's like that retina burning pink. And this I found oddly like in the Hamptons last summer, but it's all like tart molds that I guess someone like welded to like a piece of metal. I don't really know. I've never seen anything else like it before. But I just loved how it just kind of looked like a painting in a way. It had this funny, like perfect composition to it. And I just love the colors. It's rusty, but also, you know, the colors are very subtle, but I felt like it kind of went with everything else in the apartment. So I work at a store called John Darien. It's all home goods, but it all started with decoupage, which is, you know, it's like gluing paper to any kind of surface, but John started putting it behind glass. So we have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of trays that he designs every, like twice a year. He has a new collection that comes out. So there are people that have been collecting it since day one. There's new people that come in every day that have never heard of it. They don't know what decoupage is. So it's really fun to be able to kind of introduce that to people and constantly just be inspired by how John is merchandising the store, how he, you know, decorates and designs his house, how he kind of approaches like a smaller space. I'm not someone who just wants everything to be gray or beige or neutral. I want a lot of color, I want a lot of patterns, I want everything. I want everything to be included. And that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. If you wanna follow me into the living room, that's where we'll go next. So this is the living room. I think this is probably, where we both spend a lot of our time. Especially if I'm not in my room, I'm probably gonna be out here because, again, not a cook. There's a really great skylight in here. Since we're on the 4th floor, which is like the top of the building, we have these really great skylights in here and in the kitchen, and they really brighten up the space. I don't know how, the other apartments are like below us because it must be so dark. Like, we're really lucky to have these big skylights, and it makes the space feel bigger, and it really just kind of opens everything up in a really nice way. And it kind of does give like some dramatic light because it's all coming from the top, but it can be kind of fun when you're like taking pictures of the space, or taking a selfie, or whatever. It just kind of gives the space like another dimension to it, which I love. I found this little like settee, like this little couch in Virginia as well. I saw it and I was really drawn to the color and the size of it because I knew this space wasn't huge and I needed something, obviously to sit on, but also I wanted something that was cute that, wasn't gonna take up the whole space. There's like a rule that Bunny Williams talks about where, it's not really good to have like a really long couch because, how are your guests going to talk to one another? Like, they're gonna have to like strain their neck, or, you're gonna have to like somehow be in front of someone else's talking space. So I kind of like having, like a little couch here, like a little chair here, some other places where people can like pull up chairs and things like that. There's just a way to make the conversation more flowing and less closed off. It feels like more open and inviting. I did this painting kind of for this space, kind of not. Before I did all of the painting on the walls, this wall was kind of full of like ceramic plates, like just like a bunch of the stuff that is already in here, but I just had it more condensed to this area. And it was just like a big kind of gallery wall of, art, of plates, like I said, and just like some decoupage stuff from John Darien. And I kind of wanted it to be a little more toned down after I painted everything. I wanted it to be like a little more focused and a little bit, I don't know, just a little bit cuter and cozier. So I had done this big painting and, I don't have like a separate studio space. So I kind of wanted to hang it here just for it to be kind of the focal point. And I liked how, all of the colors from here are kind of represented in this room in one way or another. And then it's flanked by like antique pieces that I found. One is from John Darien, this dog painting. And then this other one here is like this really funny kind of like, I don't know if it's like it's some kind of like needlepoint, like, I don't know. It's just like this really funny kind of scene that I found at an antique store. And I don't know, I just love the colors. I love the frame. I love that the mat is like also velvet. So it's kind of like playing with this couch a little bit. And yeah, I just kind of tried to keep everything being like one kind of dialogue with color and, what the items were and, what I wanted to bring into the space. So, this is Catherine's sewing table. Like, if you open it up, there's like a sewing machine that like comes out of it. So sometimes she'll, be like working on something in here. So, I mean, this space like has to be like a couple of different spaces at the same time. It's like we eat in here, we watch TV or like movies in here, we, entertain in here. Sometimes I'm like doing like painting or paper mache out here. Catherine could be sewing. So this space like serves a lot of purposes. You know, that's kind of just what you have to do. Like in New York, in any kind of like smaller apartment, is just make things like multifunctional. And I'd gotten these huge branches just from like Bodega down the street, but I loved the scale of it. And that's something I kind of learned from John, which is like, you know, you can make something like go to the ceiling, especially like flowers or plants or branches or anything. You can kind of, you know, there's no rules really with that. You can make it be whatever you want it to be. So even though they've kind of like died, I like the color still, and I like the space that it takes up. And I think it kind of makes the room like bigger and smaller at the same time, which doesn't really make sense, but I feel like it kind of just gives it some volume, which is really nice. And that's another one of my paintings there. Like I said before, I really love cursive. I love like learning about how they used to like teach cursive a long time ago, because you know, it was really just one way that they taught everyone. And that's why like all of our grandparents kind of have like the same cursive handwriting, because they were all learning the Palmer method. So I did this painting here, and it's all about, you know, like I was mentioning earlier, I love cursive. And I was really inspired by the way that they used to teach cursive. That's kind of why like all of our grandparents have the same kind of handwriting. It was called the Palmer method, and it was just like this one guy that created this kind of like perfect like script. And I find it really interesting because I think now there's just less emphasis on writing in general, just with how technology is, but definitely less emphasis on cursive. So it was something that felt kind of nostalgic to me, but also something I wanted to introduce to like a new group of people, you know, like my age and younger. And yeah, I just love how kind of sharp it is, how perfect it looks. And yeah, I'm just always really inspired by, you know, things that are older, but kind of putting them in a newer context as well. One thing I wanted to do in the space was, you know, obviously we have a TV, but I wanted to kind of hide it in some way, but I knew I wasn't gonna get some big like chest or like sideboard that would be able to hide a TV. So I just got some canvas and painted on it to cover my TV, and made this kind of like little, I don't even know what it really is, but just like a little like frame kind of thing over it. But it really comes in handy because I didn't want this like big like rectangle just sitting in the middle of the room, because I think like your eye would just kind of naturally be drawn to like the darkest thing in the room. So this has been like kind of a fun like solution for it. And you know, you can like make a million different versions of it if you want it to be. Like I've thought of like painting like a fireplace on it or something funny to just kind of like give it a different, you know, kind of like a different kind of joke or like meaning to it. But I also wanted to do some painting here that like framed the TV a little bit more too, just because this is such a big wall, and I wanted to kind of break it up a little bit and give it some different like focal points. And I think, you know, as I live in the space more, it will like continue to change and things like that. But for now, I have like this really cute like fish platter that's all lettuceware. This is also something I got from Tory Burch. She still does this collaboration with Dodie Thayer, who was like the original lettuceware queen. And you know, her original lettuceware sells for like thousands and thousands of dollars. But what I love about like this collection she did with Tory Burch was it's like more accessible. It's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as all of that. And they're like bringing back a lot of these like funny shapes and things that you just like don't see anymore. Like no one is really making this sort of thing anymore, but I just really love it. And I always feel like really happy when I see it. And if I wanted to, I could like really use it to serve food. But for now, I really like it hanging up here. And the way that I kind of did this painting on the wall, I really didn't plan it very much. I kind of just decided to like wing it in a way, just because I wanted it to feel organic and kind of imperfect, because it's like just not how I make my art or like how I create in general. It's all very kind of like spur of the moment. I'm like, just working off of what I'm inspired by. And I, yeah, just decided to like go really big with this kind of like section of the painting. But I think, it kind of worked out well. And I'm, gonna continue to like kind of fill up these spaces with more things. But for now, I really love it. And I think it kind of just, again, like adds that additional layer of like depth and just kind of makes everything more interesting than just a cream wall. And I think, people who live in like a rented apartment are kind of afraid to do any kind of painting or something that's like a little more permanent to the space. But for me, when I asked my landlords if I could do it, they just asked that I paint it back before I move. So, which I feel like is really fair. And I'm like really happy that I was able to just do this kind of with their permission in a way. And it's, a very like simple thing, and it's not like you have to repaint the entire apartment. It's just like most of the areas, but it's not, like I painted the entire thing like dark green and now I have to spend hours and hours like painting over it again. But I think this can be like kind of a really fun and easy way to just make a space more personal and make it a little more exciting. So now we're at like our little bar cart area. Somehow I'm always the bartender, even though I'm like not even a big drinker, but I pretty much just make like one thing, which is vodka, lemon juice, powdered sugar, and that's really it. But it's really good. It's just, like some people call it like a Tom Collins or like a lemon drop martini, but I really like it. But yeah, there's like a couple of other little things like sprinkled in here, of course, that are not just about alcohol. I have this like really amazing candlestick from Mark Armitano Domingo. He's a New York-based ceramicist and he's a painter. But he makes these kind of very old-looking objects, but again, like puts them in like a new, like contemporary context. And we did a trade where I gave him a painting and he gave me like a piece of his ceramics. So this piece I just really love because I love the bugs that are on it, and you can kind of see on it, it's like the kind of like slime left after from like a slug or something. It's like kind of gross and cute at the same time. But otherwise it's all mostly alcohol. There's like a couple of, of course, like another plate that I found that I really loved. It has like the alphabet around it, and I had never seen anything like that before. So I was like immediately drawn to that. And I found this like antique print of the Our Father, and I'm not even really like religious, but I just loved the stains on it, and I loved the colors, and the frame I thought was just so like beautiful as well, that I again just kind of had to have it. And I don't know, I thought it would be kind of funny putting it with the alcohol in a way. It'd be like a funny dynamic. But I think, you know, if you are like looking for antiques or, you know, you're in like a vintage store and something's kind of like broken or stained or something like that, I think it's really nice to like embrace those sorts of things because it just kind of proves that it's had this life before you and now you get to put it in whatever context you want. But I think a lot of people are like turned off by like, oh, well, this isn't perfect. And it's like, yeah, because it's like over 100 years old, it's not going to be brand new. And I think that is the charm of it. I think that's like what the exciting part of it is. And I think working at John Darien, it's really made me embrace a lot of those like imperfections or things that other people might just kind of turn away from. The rug I found online somewhere, but it just has like all of these amazing fruits on it. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll find something that's like a little more, you know, traditional, like some kind of like, you know, patterned rug or something like that. But I don't know. I saw this rug and I showed it to my roommate and we were both like, wait, this is kind of perfect. Because I think it has like both of our interests in it. Like I like a lot of color. She loves, you know, fruit and like vegetables and stuff. So it was kind of like a perfect little marriage of the two things. And yeah, it's just another thing that like immediately makes me happy when I see it. This is like where we eat and, you know, if we were having like a party or something, this is kind of like where we will put a lot of the food for people to come and just kind of like grab whatever they want. But my favorite thing is like this funny, like big, I call it an ornament. Some people call it a disco ball. It is not a disco ball. But it's just kind of this big, like, almost looks like mercury glass in a way. And I love just kind of the idea of it hanging there. And it just kind of, I don't know, adds like another layer of things. I think sometimes like we forget about the ceiling being an option for decoration or like to add things because we're so used to like using the walls or, you know, a table or, you know, something that's more specific for like decor or putting objects on that we kind of overlook like what's above us. And I like the idea of it being over the, like this little like dining table. And I have, like I mentioned before, a lot of like lettuceware. So like things that look like this, it looks like cabbage. It's also called cabbageware. And I found these really great lamps at an antique store. Initially, it was just one. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll buy it. Like, I've never seen this before. Like, I have to have it. And then when I went to buy it, the owner of the store said, you know, there's a matching one, but it's broken. And I just kind of figured whoever bought it, I would just give that other one to them. So I got really lucky, got 2 lamps for the price of 1. And I feel like it's always like a conversation starter is like these funny little like dog lamps. And again, they're like these Staffordshire dogs that are kind of just like everywhere throughout the apartment. I found this big like print of like a Monet painting in an antique store. I found this kind of sad looking woman in an antique store too. I have a few of these tinsel paintings that are like a reverse painting. So you would paint like the background first on the first layer of the glass, and then you would kind of like paint everything backwards from there. So it's a really like fun, well actually they would use like something shiny in it as well, like tinsel or like aluminum foil or something to kind of give it that like shimmer to it. but I bought like a few of these like in an auction online. And that's like a whole other world of like finding really great things is from auctions. And it's a really fun way to not only like learn about new antiques, but also to like buy things because you don't know if you're gonna like get it or not. And it's just fun to kind of be able to sometimes like get things from someone's personal collection and now it can be like in yours. And I just really love that idea of like getting something, bringing it into, you know, giving it like a new life and like a new home and things like that. I would say the favorite part about my apartment is, I mean, I love everything. They're, you know, it's all my children, but what I love most about it is definitely, you know, how I painted the walls. I was really inspired by Christian Berard, who was a painter, but also a muralist. And he painted a lot of New York apartments. And if you look him up, it's really amazing because it's, you know, these very old, you know, very polished and posh New York apartments, but he is, you know, putting this kind of like wonky drawing on the wall that kind of, you know, brings it to a more like approachable level, which is kind of like what I wanted to do here, where, you know, I wanted to have like my own kind of stamp on everything, but I really loved the idea of it like not being perfect and it really having like my hand in it. And I liked feeling like in a way I've kind of like drawn this apartment. And I just love the kind of fake meets real space, kind of like that trompe l'oeil, like kind of, you know, like tricking the eye. You know, there's like a lot of that around here as well, where it's like things that are fake but look real, or things that don't even look real but, you know, are modeled after something. And yeah, so I mean, I give the credit to Christian Berard, but you know, I think it's kind of like coming back in style a little bit. I think, you know, people are less afraid of having everything exactly perfect, and you know, you need to learn to just kind of embrace the imperfections and just kind of enjoy, you know, the space and making it work for you in the best way possible. All right, now I will show you my bedroom. Welcome to my bedroom. This is the room that I definitely spend the most time in. Mostly because I love my bed, but also because I do all my painting in here. So I definitely have, you know, this is where I spend most of my time. And it, again, was like really important for me to have a lot of color, a lot of like bright colors too. Just because that's what makes me happy. And I think, you know, the way that I go about choosing color is pretty organic. It's just whatever speaks to me. You know, obviously I love pink. It's like the same color pink that I use throughout the whole apartment. But, you know, when I decided to paint the walls, I started with my bedroom, mostly because I wasn't sure if my roommate was like up for me painting the entire apartment. But I knew it was something I wanted to do for me. So I started in here and I just really loved how it transformed the space. But, you know, there's like a lot of yellows, which I just never realized really is like a color that I use a lot. But, you know, like recently I kind of made this like faux like bunting, like canopy situation, where I just like got some canvas, painted it yellow, like, you know, pinned it to my wall and called it a day. I just wanted something there that kind of covered up part of the curtain rod that goes like basically the width of my room, but I just really wanted this space to be something that really like reflected, everything I love about stuff. It has like Staffordshire dogs, it has ceramic plates, it has like taper candles, it has paper flowers, it has, a lot of patterns. This like bedding is like my favorite like duvet cover that I've ever had. It's from the company store and they don't make it anymore. And I don't really know what I'm gonna do afterward because you can't like get it anywhere. So I'm really just, it's kind of starting to like tear in certain places. But that's why I have this like amazing one of a kind like quilt over it to just kind of like hide those little imperfections. But I just loved that it was like a pink gingham because you never really see that. And it just makes me so happy. And I love that like when I do take like a picture of my bedroom, I just love the depth that it gives it. And I think it just like plays so nicely with like everything else in the room. Over here is just more stuff. I have this like amazing geranium. It's made by the Green Base, which is something that I learned from, or like an artist I learned about from working at John Darien. She makes all these amazing paper flowers. She has a studio up in the Bronx in New York, and she originally was a florist and then started making paper flowers, and they're really just like these amazing sculptures. I think she's probably best known for the geraniums, but she also, can make pretty much any flower, and she does it in so many like real, like true to nature colors, but they still kind of have this otherworldly quality to them. But I just, again, love like the space that it takes up. I don't have like a lot of 3D objects. Like I'm such a 2D person, like with my art and just like with the things that I collect, that, when I find something 3D that I really love, like I kind of have to have it because it's just, not something that I usually look for. But so I feel like this kind of like anchors this wall a little bit, and I have like this great like convex mirror. I have some more like John Darien plates. He does a collaboration with like this French ceramic brand, Astier de Villatte. And those I just also really love. I love the images. I love the shapes of the plates because they use like a lot of antique or vintage pieces that they will like mold and then make new again. So it's a lot of like old shapes. It's just things that you just don't see anymore, which I really love. So it's not going to be like the same thing that everyone else has. And I think that's something that is kind of important for me when I'm decorating, that it's something that feels authentic to me, but not something that, you're gonna find in like everyone else's apartment. And I recently made these little Staffordshire dogs here, these from paper mache. I had bought these like ceramic ones that were newly made, but then I decided to paper mache over them and paint them and kind of like just give them a new life. And so now they look much more kind of traditional, like how they really look. And I don't know, I'm just kind of obsessed with them right now. In here, again, like limited on space, but I still wanted to have like good furniture, like a lot of stuff. I just don't, I'm not like a minimal person. I want to have like all of my treasures and like things around me all the time. So, this wall is all like art that I've collected from like antique stores, just some like, a 19th century painting, like a vintage portrait of this girl that I feel like kind of weirdly looks like my mom when she was a kid. So we kind of say that that's my mom. And some two like really tiny, sweet portraits on the end that I got in an auction. And yeah, I just love kind of having all this like older stuff, but have it balanced with newer things. And I just feel like it gives it really good layers, and it gives it, like a more fun context. And, I don't want it to look like, oh, you're walking into like a stage set of like a house from, the 19th century, but I want it to be kind of colorful and inspirational and somewhere that, I feel inspired to be in all the time. And I do a lot of paintings of my room or stuff that's in my room or little vignettes of my room. And it's just fun to like live and work in a space where I feel really inspired. I have a lot of books. Well, I feel like I have pretty good restraint when it comes to buying books, because I feel like that is something that's so easy to just buy and like never really look at again. But I feel like the ones that I do have, I really feel like connected to in a lot of ways. Like just immediately this one, it's a book from like the early 1900s. It's called Decorating is Fun. It's by an old interior decorator, Dorothy Draper, who decorated the Greenbrier Hotel, which is in West Virginia. And she was kind of the first decorator to decorate hotels, because it was just something that wasn't very popular to do. And it was kind of like frowned upon to do it. And she kind of made it something that, now a lot of like designers and decorators do. And if you go to the Greenbrier in West Virginia, it's still decorated in the same style that she originally had decorated it. She put it in her contract that it would be decorated the same way as long as the Greenbrier was open. So it's kind of like this bizarre like lifetime contract that like doesn't really exist anymore. And but it's what makes that space so amazing, is her fingerprint on it and how she, made these really like bold choices. And, she also really inspired me. She has like a quote that's like, if it feels right, it is right, in the context of decorating. And I think that has just been like, again, something that's been really freeing for me to just kind of do whatever I want to do, because to me it feels right. And I think that's something that I also try to incorporate with my paintings too, because I think you can get really caught up in, oh well, what if this doesn't feel like something I would do or that's authentic to me. But I think if you are creating it and doing it, it's always going to have your voice in it and have that thread of you in it. But I do really recommend this book because it's kind of funny. It's like, written so long ago, but she is kind of talking about the same things that are trending now. Like, she talks a lot about how everyone just wants like very neutral color choices, like everything is like gray or like, like a khaki color or, something just kind of boring. And, she is like so vehemently like against choosing those types of like safe colors, and, is like encouraging her readers to, find something like a little more personal or, referential to other really great decorators or time periods that can, inform your space in a more exciting way. Then over here, I have, more ceramics, which is something I just can never stay away from. But I love all of these little vessels that, are usually used for serving, but I love just like putting jewelry in there or just like little like perfume samples or something like that in there. Anything that can just like hide stuff, because again, we're in New York, we have no space. You know, I love like an asparagus terrine. You know, this is like another green vase stem, like a really beautiful like geranium stem. I love the height that it has, but I loved the colors also. It kind of just tied everything together. I just love all these funny kind of like fruit but not real fruit things. You know, like I have this watermelon that I don't really know what it's, I think it might be like some kind of like styrofoam or like paper mache kind of thing, but I found it, it was like $10 or something, but I just really, I love it so much. It makes me so happy whenever I see it. And then I have like a couple of like marble fruits there. I have this cabbageware like cake pedestal that they're sitting on. So I just really love, you know, kind of creating these like vignettes or stories of objects, especially with collections. I think it's such an easy way to kind of just like group everything together, and then like you automatically have this like focal point or something that people are drawn to. And I think it also just again like makes me happy to like see all of these things in one place. And you know, it might be something that I like paint one day, or you know, it might be inspirational to somebody else, but I just really love having these sorts of collections like throughout the space. So now we're on the other side of my bedroom, and this is just like a dresser that I painted red. It was actually a former roommate of mine. She was moving out and she's like, I don't want to move this at all. And I kept it and I painted it red a couple of years ago. And then when I was doing all the painting on my wall, I was like, well, it might be kind of fun to like add that same kind of like motif onto the dresser as well. And I was so happy I did it, because it kind of really does just like tie it all together a little bit more and makes it a little more fun and a little more like DIY and not so serious and you know, like perfect. I like that it has this kind of, you can see my hand in all of it. But again, like I have more paper flowers. I have this like amazing painting by Donald Robertson. I still need to do a painting for him. If you're watching this, I promise I'm doing your painting. I know exactly what I'm going to do, I promise. You know, I think like a lot of the stuff here is, you know, stuff like I've gotten from work or like antique stores, but it doesn't have to be like expensive either. The gallery that I work with in Richmond, Virginia, Quirk Gallery, the owner, Katie Ukrop, she kind of has always like been someone who, you know, reminds me that like you don't have to buy something for like $100. Like it can just be $10, and that can make it really exciting. It just kind of depends like what you do with it and how you choose to either like style it or what kind of like collection you put it in with. Like it doesn't have to be fancy to be important. And I think that's something that people get like overwhelmed with. They're like, oh, I don't have like the money to do it. And I mean, which is totally valid, but also it doesn't have to be where you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars. You know, it can just be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't, you know, you can be making things. You can, you know, find stuff that is like $1 that is really great too. It just depends on how you style it. And there's like a really great story about Bunny Mellon, who was like an amazing collector and, you know, extremely rich. But when they had her auction for her estate, people were paying like thousands and thousands of dollars for things that she bought for like $3. But because she had it and she kind of made it seem more expensive, you know, it put that value on it. So, you know, it doesn't have to be like, you know, this heirloom item that's been like passed down for years and years, because not everyone has that. But you know, I think it's kind of also up to you what you put value on and how you kind of value these items. So I try to remind myself of that too. Like, what am I trying to portray here? What am I trying to, you know, like say with all of these items? And I think that's something I kind of go back to is, you know, it is just me and my voice and what I'm interested in and what I, you know, it doesn't have to be anything like fancy or worth thousands of dollars. Again, like just more like broken plates from John Darien that I glued back together just because I love them, and I love, you know, again, it's something that like I wouldn't be able to like afford to buy all of these, but I love that I can still like give them a new life or like a new context. Home means a lot to me just because I'm more introverted and I have times where I just need to be by myself more. I also work from my home, like all my painting I do in my room. So it's really important for me to have like this kind of space to work and live and I don't know, just feel comfortable. So it's always been important to me to have like this kind of like home base and where I can like totally feel relaxed and be by myself, but feel very comfortable and like surrounded by all of my things. And yeah, I think everyone should have kind of their own home base. I think in New York, it's a little bit tougher because, you know, everyone treats their home as kind of like a drop-off point. Like, okay, I was just at work, I'm gonna drop all my stuff, and then now I'm gonna go out for the night or whatever. But I think for me, I really love spending time in my home, so it's important for me to make it as comfortable as I need it to be.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.